Happy Tuesday, everybody. If you are in Zoom or if you're in Facebook or you're hearing this, let us know what part of the country you're in. What city are you working out of? I think now more than ever, as local referral-based mortgage professionals, we need to double down on our locality, our location, and make the most of that. So I want to be more and more intentional. What city are you in? What market are you building your brand? What market are you owning? All right, Marcy, we ready to rock it out? All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday interview. Today, I have Coach Bill Hart. Coach, welcome to the call.
So glad to be here, buddy. Always a pleasure. Hello, Mortgage Coach community.
Right on. Well, I have interviewed you more times than I can count. We've had you as a guest so many times. We have a special playlist called the Bill Hart playlist. So nice. if you love Coach Bill Hart and you love the content we've created together, and you just want to, binge watch Bill Hart interviews, there is a playlist called Bill Hart Playlist.
Please.
Yeah. So Coach, what are you seeing in the market right now? What are you hearing from your customers? You know, what's your sense of today's market?
Oh gosh, man, it's fascinating. So I had 3 coaching sessions this morning, Dave, before you and I connected. And each of the 3, I just called it out in the last one, each of the 3 said essentially the same thing to me, which was, yeah, dude, I just got to execute. Like, I just have to execute. And so when I dig deeper on, what does that mean? They each told me variations of, there's so much distraction, right? There's so much coming at us right now. And if I can just stay on track with these priorities, I know that I'll be more productive. And so, of course, the fascinating thing that having interviewed so many top producers and highly effective people and Todd Duncan and, anybody that has accomplished anything in this industry, is that they're really effective at doing that. As a matter of fact, that highly effective people are kind of compelled to do that. So it's more of an internal wiring. Average people like myself, that's what I've learned about me, is any success that I've achieved because I've had to like duct tape systems together, right, to make it work for me. I'm not just wired like that. And so that's the thing, man. If you ask me topically, what's the thing that I'm seeing more often than not, it's that. And win by noon is almost always where I drive them. Like, okay, we got to get a planner in your hands because it will help you to track your non-negotiable disciplines and, separate out some of the noise.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I'm one of those people that every day I've got, my morning rituals, my daily rituals of positive affirmations are important to me. Reading, what I put in my mind. And, right now in a market like today, news may not be the best thing to be putting in your mind, especially political news. I do think, you need to be more fiscally literate than ever. So, Mortgage Coach community listening to the Daily Rate Watch, I think is a plus.
Absolutely.
But here, this is crazy, but I really believe like all of us right now, we need to be white collar warriors. I mean, it's like warrior time. We need to be mentally strong, physically strong. And so your audiobook is awesome. Between even myself, to be a good leader to this community, I feel like I re-listened to your book right now. And then I'm also starting to listen to Jocko's new book, and I'm a big Jocko Willink fan. I hope you don't mind me putting your book next to those two. But, so community, I would just start, and not because I have Bill on the call, but I truly believe if you've not read White Collar Warrior, you should. I think the timing is now. And we're gonna spend most of today's call talking about 3 pillars to purchase business.
Yep.
Before I do that, I just want to give some community updates, let you guys know what's going on in the Mortgage Coach community. Looks like we have 3 people that want to join the group. By the way, we're averaging over 500 new people a month. So, thank you guys for trusting us and becoming part of this community. I want to make sure you guys noticed this interview. I had Jeremy for the first 15 minutes of Friday's call. Bill, have you heard anything about that interview I did with Jeremy?
I actually wanted to call it out, so I'm so glad you're bringing this up. I've been telling people about this regularly. I'm a huge Jeremy Forcier fan. He's such a cool combination of intelligence and likability, right? It's just hard not to track with that guy. And the seller buy down, like, I don't know how long it's been, but it's been a while since we were talking about seller buy down. And suddenly, to me, I mean, he's in Napa, but I just hung up with a guy in Austin, Texas. He said, "Oh, that's exactly my market. That would be a perfect conversation." So yeah, man, I am recommending and sending a link to this call to everybody I coach. So what were you going to say about it?
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, Jeremy did a great job. You know, literally, he's on Thursday night, he sent me an email saying, "Hey, I sent out this email. I've got this realtor I've been chasing for 2 years. It's seller buy down time." And I'm like, "Bro, can you be on the call at 9:00 in the morning?" And he's like, "Well, I'm going to be in transit." So we have Jeremy going to the airport to get on the plane to Vegas, and he just laid it down. So guys, check it out, study it. Yep. Scott Nicholson, who really is the father and the pioneer of the MortgageCoach seller buy down.
Yep.
Him and I did an interview yesterday.
Oh,
where
good.
He walked through a seller buy down. But community, they're right here. You know, like if you look at, he put a couple links where he put links to actual seller buy downs. So I put those in announcements so they're at the top of the group. But I'm just here to tell everybody on this call, seller buy down. You need to master it. You need to master the buyer conversation. You need to master helping the listing agent conversation. You need to master how to talk to the buyer's agent so that you are bringing value beyond just closing loans, doing transactions. You could actually help sell homes and do it in a way that's creative, do it in a way that completely eliminates rate shopping. And so seller buy down, game on. One last thing.
Just before you leave that, Dave, may I just say it. I think what Jeremy said, maybe 15 minutes or so into that interview, Michelle Town was on by phone, right? And they were kind of going back and forth. And she was saying something about, I forget how she phrased it, like, this is something that's innovative. And he was saying, "You know what, man, I just think this is our job." And it's everything that you're talking about right now, Dave, with advice. And so to me, that's the point I would anchor, and I am anchoring with my clients, is we've been in an environment where it was all about just answering the phone, and then it became a conversation about rate, for God's sakes. And this takes it off that, right? So it gets us back onto the advice conversation, which is what we should be doing in a consultancy, which is what you all have. You have consultancies.
Yeah, right on, man. So guys, just to be clear, this Thursday, 9:00 Pacific, in our weekly Q&A training, we will be centering that around seller buy downs. If you're listening to the recording of this, I'll try to put a link down below to that, or you can go search it in our YouTube page. If you just type in seller buy down, there'll be a number of video resources for you. And then next Tuesday, 9:00 next Tuesday, I'm going to be doing the seller buy down playbook, where I'm inviting Scott, I'm inviting Jeremy, I'm inviting a few other, top producers around the country to just break it down. What is the playbook? So leadership and advice is coming. One last thing, Bill, before we get into it, I wanted to shine a light on an article that I posted on Monday, yesterday. It's called "Disruption is Here. Prioritize the right technology today or become irrelevant tomorrow." And this is an article I wrote over the weekend. The source to it was, first of all, a lifetime of being a guy who leverages technology to sell more effectively. But I went to Digital Mortgage. I spoke at Digital Mortgage. I've interviewed countless of leaders in the mortgage innovation space, and I have over 100 clients. So I have a lot of C-suites that I consult with and I help. And so I tried to put something together that just kind of broke it down. There is a threat, and I tried to put that in a concise paragraph, right here: threat coming after the local referral-based lender. I'm not going to read this out loud, but there's a threat. And by the way, there are opportunities, and it has to do with doubling down on your local market. And so I just want to shine a light on this. If you're a manager, I think I wrote this also because I think every manager that reads it is like, yes, that's it, Dave. And you want to get your people to do all the things that I talk about here. But I just want to get, let the community know for managers, I gave you something that you can forward to your team. You can have a sales meeting around, you can get focused around, you can rally around. So I just wanted to shine a light on that article. Bill, anything you want to say before we dig in?
No, just thank you for writing the article. You just reminded me, I bookmarked it because I started to read it yesterday and wasn't able to finish it. And great job for whoever created the caricature of Dave Savage there, by the way. Love that.
That was something at Digital Mortgage this year. They did that for all the speakers.
That's so cool.
It was, at first, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, man. And then I'm like, okay, it's all good.
That's what a caricature is, right? With me, they always go with the real skinny chin because I have a thin face and whatever. But anyway, thank you for the article. And I pledge to you that I will have that read this afternoon, and I'll be sharing it as well. So thanks for your thought leadership there.
Good. Well, let's, this is a, I don't know, call it Mastermind. Bill and I will try to answer questions that come in. And if we don't get to them in this call, we'll answer them in other interviews, or we'll answer them in the Mortgage Coach Facebook group. So if you're on Facebook and you have a question, ask it. If you're in Zoom and you have a question, ask it. And by the way, let's learn together. So these, chat forums are great places where if Bill says something that you're like, oh, that's good, put it in comments so that we're learning together and we're sharing these things. So with that said, Bill, you've got these 3 pillars. I've heard about it. I think you and I have done some interviews about it, but it's been a long time. So what is it and why? And then let's just talk it out.
You bet. So I first talked about this at Sales Mastery probably 4 years ago. I had 3 pillars on the stage. Like, renting pillars is not easy, but we found them in Palm Springs, which is where the event was back in the days, from a florist or a wedding rental facility. But we had pillars on stage, and so this has evolved since then. I created this for the Master's Coach, which is the kind of the best of the group that we work with. And it was just me trying to get them to think differently about where their leads came from, Dave. And so, as you can tell, I mean, this is a topic I really, sorry about that, I really love. I mean, it's obvious that I really
Wait a minute.
Really
what are you
love
doing
this
here?
topic. What?
How did you do that?
What?
Come on,
I don't know what you're talking about. I just really love this.
What's the new tech that I don't know about, man?
It's called eyeglasses. Go check out the letter I glasses. Yeah, and it's got all kinds of stuff. There's some things like this that aren't attractive, right?
You're killing us.
That, or you can do that, but I probably just will stay here. So this is a topic, though, that I really love because here's what I find as a coach all the time, and you guys, you tell me what you think about this, but when the market shifts and there's a dramatic sort of change in the market, invariably what happens is I have clients saying, well, man, I'm not getting as many calls, I'm not getting as many leads, so I got to call more realtors. That's normally the first place people go. The second place people go is, where in my database is the low-hanging fruit, right? Are there any refis that I haven't considered? Could I go after that? Are there TBDs? Are there prequals? That's generally where people go. So if we can bring that up now and just show people the 3 pillars, this is just an assessment. And as you look at it, I want you to sort of self-assess, honestly, in terms of where you are. And look, I'm not going to say that there's any real right or wrong to this, because I don't think anybody's going to go after all this stuff. I just want you to start thinking about, thanks for maximizing it, Dave. I want you to start thinking about, if I were coaching you right now, and I said, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, like I am a rock star with realtors. Let me tell you what a rock star with realtors looks like to me. A rock star with realtors means I have got the data, the production data for the realtors in my market. So I now know, beyond how much I like Susie and Bob and Larry and Michelle, how much I like them and they're nice people, and I maybe even done business with them in the past. How much business are they actually doing? So the data is available to us. Let's get it, right? Wherever you get it, my MTA title, wherever it comes from, many of your companies have this available. Get the production data, number 1. Number 2, find out if there's a potential
Hey, time
values.
out, Bill. Time out.
Yep.
So, by the way, everyone, if you have your production data and you know the realtors that you do business with and you know what their volume is, just say it. Say, I got it. I'm on it. If you
Good.
don't, say
Great.
you don't. I want this to be learning, and that is such an important thing, especially like with new LOs. And often, like when I talk to top producing loan officers, they always know it. They know it on who they're doing business with. They know it on who they're targeting. When I talk to a lot of new loan officers or struggling loan officers, I don't get the same clarity of answer here. So anyways, Bill, sorry for interrupting, but I just
No. So Chris McWilliams just chimed in and said that Chris has got it. So good on you. It's like I don't even know how to come up with a reasonable analogy on that. But if you don't know that data, I used to work for a guy years ago, and he'd say it was like bowling with a sheet in front of the pins, right? You can hear the pins falling, but you can't see the score. So
yeah, got it, and update it quarterly. And by the way, is it in your CRM? Is it in a place that you can search,
totally
target, and customize and personalize content and marketing based around that data?
That's
Get
right.
on it.
So I've got to have that data. Then number two, do I have a prospective values match with that person, right? There's a lot of top producers that are just not people that we would want to work with. Adam Black, I just had a broker pull me a new top 100 list today, total and buyer's agents. Perfect, Adam. And that is another way to get it, be cautious with your local laws, right? Do whatever is necessary to be compliant and legal in this. But the data's out there. Tammy just said, I know it, just looked it up yesterday. Good for you. Rick, got it, update it quarterly. So love that you guys are doing it. Now, there's also people on this call right now that don't have that data. So let this be something that convicts you. If I don't know the information, why do we care, right? Your question now should be, well, what does it matter? If I have a relationship with somebody and they're in the business, if I get one deal a year from them, who cares? I get that. But my contention is if you're going to target realtors, all things being equal, target people that are doing whatever you consider to be an appropriate amount of volume. I'm not saying necessarily go for the very top in your market. That's one approach. It's going to be harder, right? Of course, they're going to have good, strong existing relationships, but at least know what the data is, right? So that's number one. Number two, you've done some kind of research, title, escrow, closing attorneys, other agents, right? Wholesale reps, if you're a broker, just talk to people about that agent. Is that somebody you could see me working with? Number three, you've got a system where you're dripping on them with value on a regular basis. So you're talking to them about the things that they care about, including, by the way, personal interests. I've talked about this so many times, but if I was a realtor and you went on to Facebook, you'd find out pretty quickly, well, this guy, first of all, I posted a video yesterday explaining all this stuff, right? That I went into the dermatologist and had a bunch of crap burned off my face because I'm a 3-time cancer survivor, and this is like a mission of mine, right? I want to talk to people about that. So that about me. I'm a patriot. I've written a book. I love military aviation, right? Right by the planes behind me. So approach me with information that I would care about.
Bill, real quick, I want to just shine a light on the fact that I don't know that there's anyone in the mortgage business who's done a better job of building personal brand than Bill Hart. Like, who he is, all the things that he said he was. Like, you didn't just hear that. And I just want to remind everybody who's a local referral-based loan officer, you need to be an incredible advisor and you need to build an incredible personal brand. And so I just think everybody can look at you and go, oh, that's how it's done. Let's keep going.
Listen, man, I appreciate that. And normally my humility would back away from that and say, whatever. But I appreciate that really has worked over the years. And it was reinforced by Bill Hillestad recently. And that's why I'm saying this, because when Hillestad says to me, dude, I know how to wire this stuff up, but you know how to create content that creates connection. Here's all I've figured out, folks. I'm just honest. Right? If you know anything about what you see about me posting, they're things that I care about, things that I'm passionate about. I was with a guy last night and he says, you've mastered the lean in factor. I said, what's the lean in factor? He said, that's when you do this to make a point. So if you're doing video, the one thing I would say, whether it's with Mortgage Coach or if you're just pushing stuff out, on social, Don't be too stiff. That would be the other thing I would ask you to consider. It's easy to do in the beginning, but Dave, you used to say, I don't even know if you coach this anymore, but you used to say to people, I think it was 20 TCAs, right? Do 20 TCAs. And once you get comfortable, then they're just going to become much more natural. Is that still the way you coach that?
Yeah, I mean, I do think there are some loan officers based off of how easy they use technology that's 10, but it's somewhere between 10 and 20. You do something 10 or 20 times, the total cost analysis, and between getting comfortable data-wise and then getting comfortable having the conversation and then the feedback that you get. So you do it 10 or 20 times, you don't stop. It becomes easier, faster, better. But yeah, it's still the same number.
So continuing just with the realtor, and I'm not going to unpack it like this on every one. This is just the big one, right? So I want to make sure everybody gets it, and then we can sort of just fly through the various different categories. I would then ask that you had a plan for regular connection with those people. Again, right? An easy way to do that is I've got a website called roadtoreferrals.com. It's an easy one, Dave. Sorry, I'll trip you up on that by not having told you that ahead of time. Spelled out, roadtoreferrals.com. And all this is a 7-week campaign that I'm using with more and more clients right now. And it's just a 7-week campaign of a variety of different media, different types of touches, including what we've done on Mortgage Coach with interviews with top producing realtors that are free. None of this costs you a penny, right? These are just my experiences of what's worked to create connection with realtors. So this is an easy way to do it. You can get these free interviews that I've done with top producing realtors. Incidentally, I'm sure some of you have heard this, and Dave, I don't know if you know this, but Nicole Solari, who is arguably one of the most amazing interviews that we've done recently, was in a pretty bad car accident a couple of weeks ago and had surgery a couple of days ago. And you know what? A little love Nicole's way would go a long way. So if you've been touched by her, if she has meant something to you, if her digital open house or whatever she's talked about has meant something to you, I'm going to ask you personally, just send her some love on Facebook, right? Just private messenger. It would mean something to her. But that's the whole idea behind Road to Referrals. I'm not saying it's the best. I just know it works. If you follow these 7 weeks and then just keep doing it, one of two things is going to happen with these realtors. They're either going to engage with you at some level or they're going to get a restraining order on you. Either way, you win, right? So it's simple. It's free. I mean, full disclosure, Building Champions is going to capture your email and we're going to tell you that coaching is a good idea. So full disclosure, know that that's what's going to happen there.
That's what I love about it, Bill. Always full disclosure. So by the way, guys, check this out. Great resource of content. While Bill was talking, I pulled up his Bill Hart playlist, and the interviews in here range from interviews with top realtors, like the Nicole Solari interview where Bill interviewed her. And then they also range from things like just how to create a perfect mortgage coach video. You know, so again, we've got 11 videos. By the end of this call, we'll have 12 Bill Hart videos in a playlist. If you are a big fan of Bill, check it out this weekend.
Thanks, buddy.
Keep it rolling.
Appreciate that. And then I would ask you to track it, and it's just a simple idea of tracking. Who's the realtor that I'm after? What's the last thing that I did? What's the next thing that I'm going to do? This is classic Steve Scanlon from the old days. Steve was always about what's the last thing you did? What's the next thing you're going to do? And it creates what I call flywheel marketing. It just sort of creates momentum around resisting what we normally do as people, which is, well, I don't know, they ignored me. I mean, I don't want to call anymore. I get that, but commit to the process. Just commit to the process of delivering people value. So that's what I would do, and that's what I would call a 10. So if you're not doing all of that in my world, you're not a 10, you're something else. So rank that. The next one, Dave, if you can bring the 3 pillars back up. And by the way, folks, if you want this, just email info@buildingchampions.com, info@buildingchampions.com, and we'll send you a copy. This is an editable PDF, so you can type values in there, and that's what I would ask you to do. So rank yourself with realtors. Then rank yourself with builders, right? Yeah, there you go. So with builders, and maybe it's a non-issue where you live, but if you're in Texas, there's a lot of dirt there. There's probably some builders, right? CPAs, let's talk about this next group is a group of 3. CPAs, financial planners, and insurance agents. think about this, you guys. I hear this in coaching sessions all the time. If there's any value I bring to you, it's not because of my brilliance. It's because of my exposure to so many clients over 15 years, the best of the best in the mortgage, many of the best in the mortgage space. And here's what I see with people. Just see how this, as a matter of fact, I would love you to tell me now in chat, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, let's just rank these three together. Financial planners, insurance agents, and CPAs. Let's call them financial professionals. Tell me, how you doing? Is that a 10 for you? Is that a 0? Because what I know is, what most people tell me is at some point, it's like, I used to have a good CPA, but she retired. Yeah. You know, I've heard people talk about that, and I should really go about it. Todd Duncan talks about it all the time with his circle. And yeah, but I had one and then I didn't. So I'd love to hear from you in the chat right now on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best with financial professionals. Tell me if you're nailing it, and then tell me if this is a gap for you. Because if it's a gap for you, what I know is on this site, Dave has got more great content from phenomenal people who have built lead sources with financial professionals. So Debbie, thank you for your honesty, 0. Craig, thank you for your honesty, 0. Kathleen, thank you for the 3 on realtors. Nice, Rick Robertson. Dude, 8 out of 10 is awesome. Chris McWilliams, big gap. Will is saying, yeah, good, man, like an 8. Tracy Everman, a 7. Bobby, a 1. So, yeah, go ahead. Why don't you riff a little bit on financial professionals here, Dave? Where would you point people? Can't hear you, bud. You're muted.
Thank you. Little amateur move there. I'm a varsity player, I promise. But, you know, so that was my backstory. So one, I highly recommend a book I wrote called The Art of Referral. You can get it in my LinkedIn profile. Also, if you searched financial advisors in our Facebook group, there's been a lot of dialogue on this. Right now, I'm showing the financial advisor playlist where we have 9 videos. And, you know, I always just think if you're going to go after financial advisors, you need to be super confident. So if you are at a top producer level and you're confident and you sincerely believe that you're doing them a bigger favor than anything by referring them to you, and you can show them a total cost analysis, like, hey, this is how I help your loan officers make better decisions. So even if you have a family member in the mortgage business, you should refer your clients to me because look at the value I provide. So by the way, on a scale of 9 to 10, if you're a 9 or 10, like, I'm the bomb. Everybody gets a TCA. I am a gift to every financial advisor. Then just get after it. Go out there, call them, meet up with them. By the way, if you don't feel 8 or 9, you feel less than that, I really recommend you listen to some of these interviews. Listen to my interview with Rick Edelman. Listen to the interview with Dave Ramsey. Listen to this interview with Aaron Crosley and Josh Metal about partnering. Read my book, master it. So get your confidence up. And by the way, to get your confidence up, we're talking less work than my son, who's a junior in high school, does in a week. The homework he does in a week is, I'm asking you to do less than what a junior in high school does to upgrade your life for your family. Spend 3 to 5 hours and soak up the content, build up the confidence, and then just get after it. So that's what I have to say, Bill. Back to you.
Well, what you said is right on the money. That end point is a fantastic point, because some of what people pay me for in coaching, right, is to speak hard truth. And people don't like to hear hard truth, right? Who wants to hear you're fat and you need to lose some weight? Nobody wants to hear that, right? Any more than somebody wants to hear, you need to take an hour, if that's important to you, and go invest in that and work on that so that you can approach that group differently, right? We're in a different market, and it's time to pivot and shift. And to Jeremy's point, we need to be advising. The comments in here, Dave, I don't know if you see these, but, Kathleen loved The Art of Referrals, read it yesterday. Thank you. I started after them this morning. Will points out certified financial planners usually do reviews. You just need to be a piece of that conversation. right? Tammy, it's a big gap, 3 for financial professionals. I mean, I don't want to read them all, but the point is this is very consistent with what I see in coaching you guys. And so the idea is not to say this is necessarily something you need to go after. I'm going to leave that one up to you, right? That's your decision. But what I do know 100% is that the vast majority of people that I know need to diversify their lead sources. If you diversify your lead sources, you're going to minimize your downside when markets shift. In 2008, Building Champions was 95% in the mortgage industry. We took a big hit. It was tough for us. Mortgage only represents a third of our volume now. Like our number one client is Daimler, the German company out of Stuttgart that owns Mercedes and Chrysler. Number one. Our number 2 client is Chick-fil-A. We have spread our risk out over multiple markets. You need to do the same thing. The only guy I know that hasn't done that is me and Dave, right? So
come on now, you've done that, man. You know.
Well, the book is helping with that, right?
Warrior.
The book is helping with that. So to that point, if you guys know somebody with a sales team, refer them to me, right? If they're in financial services or the automotive business or insurance or pharmaceutical sales, refer them to me because they hire speakers and trainers and coaches, and I'd love to work in those new industries. So anyway, financial planners, as we go through that, I think the last one on that referral partner list is, Dave, if you don't mind bringing that document back up, I think it's divorce attorneys. And look, I know it's an ugly topic, but here's what I know for sure. You guys have all done business with people going through a divorce or have been divorced or you've been divorced, and you know that there are opportunities to connect with people to help them make that transition. They don't always have to sell the house, right? Sometimes the best advice to them is, you know what, hang on to it, keep it as a rental. But sometimes it's best to liquidate, and they need help now. So that's referral partners. And I also, you guys, I would love your suggestions on what I need to add to this. And so to that end, bill@buildingchampions.com. If there's an obvious gap or something that I need to add to update this, I'd love to hear it from you. bill@buildingchampions.com. Let's talk about database. Database to me is fascinating. Dave, I'm in a meeting 2 months ago, 40 top producers from a top 10 company. So a lot of producers. There's a guy in this room, 29 years old. Somebody's talking about database, and he holds his hand up and he says, so I'm closing 20 loans a month. It's all from social media and my sphere. I don't really know what it is. When you say database management, what do you even mean? And I'm doing my Home Alone face, like, right? 20 loans a month, and he legitimately doesn't know what database management means. So for a guy like that who's doing so good, right, with his sphere and social media, imagine if he went back to his database and said, oh my goodness, I need to start hanging on to these people, right, nurturing these relationships, staying in touch. And so that's all. When you look at that second column with database management, all I'm saying to you is the very first thing that everybody thinks of, and it's at the top of the list there, is prequals. Right? Dave, I'm sorry to make you go back and forth so many times.
No, I'll keep pulling it up. Don't worry. All you do is say it and it'll come back up. You don't,
yep. So at the top of that list is prequals, because that's the obvious one, right? Or past borrowers, because that's the obvious place that we go. Well, sure, I have a relationship with somebody, so how am I doing on a scale of 1 to 10? Prequals, how am I doing? TBDs. What I know is that group was largely ignored for a long time by many people. Suddenly it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm all over them, man. I need to stay in touch with my TBDs and prequals. How about your just mets? Here's what I mean by that. Gary Keller, to me, this is a huge opportunity that we miss as a mortgage industry. So this is me leaning in saying, you need to focus on this. Gary Keller, in his book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, calls a just met somebody I just met. It could be at an open house, but it could be at a soccer game. It could be at a fundraiser. It could be at a church event. Doesn't matter. I just met somebody. Here's what we know. At some point in American culture, it comes around to, so what do you do? Am I right or wrong? Right?
Absolutely right.
What do you do? I want you at that moment to say, you know what? I'm in the mortgage business and it's a great industry. One of the fascinating things to me is to ask people what their current situation is in real estate. Tell me a little bit about you in real estate. Just ask that question. Tell me a little bit about you in real estate. So you take it You take it immediately back to them, right? Tell me a little bit about you in real estate. Oh man, we tried to buy a house this past year. It was a fiasco. We made 4 offers. We're just going to rent. Could be that. Could be we've been in their house for 12 years. Never thought we'd be in the house this long. It could be funny you should bring that up. We've been thinking about investing, but I don't really know where to begin. I was thinking about maybe getting a VRBO. Any of those opportunities provide an entry point for you to which you now say, please write this down. You know what? I've got something I'm going to send to you on that. And if you don't, you can find it in a hurry, right? There's only 5 or 6 categories, so you can set up Google alerts for all of these. But if in any of those scenarios, I could within 3 minutes get a great article or video from YouTube that would bring value to that person. And you ask this question this exact way. You know what? I've got something I could send to you on that. What's your best, current, email address? I don't know why it works. I don't know if this is some NLP ninja technique that I stumbled upon, but there's something about those words, happy to get that to you. What's your best current email address? I don't know. It works every time. And you'll get an email address. So now you leave the soccer game. You met Bob Smith at AOL.com because he's 75. And you go home and you put him into your database and you say, Bob has a question about reverse mortgage, or Bob has a question about an investment. And you Google and you send him an article and boom, you started the relationship. So if I coached you, here's what I would tell you to do. Do that 3 times a day, every day. Every day. And if you add 3 people to your database every day, you're going to be adding 60 people to your database every month. And if you do that every month, you're going to be adding 720 people to your database every year. That's how a pro plays this game, by building your book of business. Dave, do you want to add anything on that?
I do. So 2 things. One, I just put a link to this article on Twitter, and I also just put it in Zoom chat. But this is a LinkedIn article I wrote in January, just making the case for why what Bill's talking about shouldn't be your number 2 priority, shouldn't be your number 3, it should be number 1. And the reason is that if you want to Amazon-proof your mortgage, just seeing all the digital disruption it's having, the one thing that you could own, that not only would you get the incremental businesses, like Bill made the case that, hey, here's this guy closing 20 loans a month, and he's not even harvesting the production from his database, which, by the way, here's a metric for everyone. If you've got 100 past customers, there's at least 17 transactions happening every year in that. And by the way, the average LO, even top producers, get less than 5 of those. So, and the best get 10. It's called a 10% past customer pull-through rate. I learned that from Bill Hostad over a decade ago.
Nice.
And so, anyways, if you're not doing this, your future is in jeopardy. I mean, not only is there incremental business to be had with this strategy, but now you've got leads that you can take back to your realtors. You have CPA leads that you can give to your CPAs. You got financial planner leads. So if you are doing this annual review, if you're loving on your database and you're killing it, I just make the case that there's loans and there is ammunition for your realtors and all the partners that are important to you. So anyways, those are some thoughts. I put a link everywhere. You guys can find it or Google it.
So good. Yeah, own your business. I mean, if you're making notes right now, just write those three words down. Own your business. And if you're going to own your business, this is how you do it. You start thinking like an insurance agent, right? You build a book of business. Yeah.
By the way, quote from Bill Hart, everybody: own your database and you own your business. You own your future. Someone
put that in quotes.
Yeah, no, Bill Hart gets that. Own it. And if you own it, you own your future.
So I'm gonna give everybody a tip on an app I've started using. I don't know if you've noticed that I've started doing more graphic posts. Like I took Dan Rowich's quote that you used the other day and turned it into a graphic, right? An app I'm using for that, you guys, is by Adobe. I don't know if you remember seeing that. Do you remember seeing that, Dave?
I do.
Okay, so it's called Spark, and I think it's $10 a month, and it allows you to create simple graphics for like quotes and things, right? And then it puts your logo down on the bottom, so you'll always see my Coach Bill Hart down at the bottom, so it starts to be consistent.
So glasses? What's the one called? It's called glasses.
The first one was eyeglasses, the letter I, glasses. That just lets you sort of change your visual attributes when you're doing video. Spark is an app that just lets you create cool, very simple custom graphics that all the research indicates, short of video being number one, graphics number two, you just don't want to be doing a lot of just text, right? So it's a great way to create stuff. And I was looking the other day to create a Bill Hart quote, and I thought, what do I say? What do I say? How do I quote myself? I don't know how to do that. So you just created one for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it.
Count on it being a Spark post very quickly. All right, bud. So those are the Just Mets seminars. I just need to tell you guys this. There's a woman that I coach, Andrea Kinley with Fairway in South Carolina, North Carolina, I'm not sure. But she just got fired up about renovation loans. And like she is on fire for reno loans because she said it allows me to have new meaningful conversations with realtors. I'm going in, I'm having conversations in their offices. Now she's doing public meetings. And so she'll have 15 to 20 of these people in a room that are listening to her as an expert, right? We know this in every other application we've ever done it. But for her, it's renovation loans. It's like, you know what? Buy the dog down the street that you didn't like, but it's got good bones, and put the kitchen and the driveway in that you want, right? We can do that for you. Brilliant concept. But if you get 15 people in the room, don't just deal with the one that moves to contract. Take all 15, put them in your database, and continue to feed and water them over time.
So real quick, guys, notice that I am in the Mortgage Coach YouTube page, typed in the word events. And so anybody on this call, lunch and learns for a realtor meeting, doing realtor masterminds, how Kelly Zitlow and Catherine Peterson turn training events into a competitive advantage, realtor events, home buyer events, realtor mastermind events. So just want to remind you guys, if you need help tactically and strategically executing those events, I mean, it's a couple hours away, just do a search, get after it.
And if Bill Hillestead were on with us, another gray-haired guy in a black shirt, Hillestead would say, what's up with that?
You need to send me a shirt, man. I need one of those white-collar warrior shirts.
I will hook you up with a shirt, man. We're just getting ready to launch a store, so I will make sure that I get you.
You'll give me a link and I'll buy my shirt. All right, I'm on standby.
Right, but Hillestead would say, figure out what the market hunger is right now, right? Like what is your market interested in? I coach a woman, Lori Moore, also with Fairway in Prescott, Arizona, little Prescott, Arizona, 80% baby boomers. It's all about reverse mortgage right now. And so she's doing events about reverse. She's doing events about how the market is shifting and what that looks like. Nothing creates trust more quickly, you guys, than to start doing events. I know not everybody's going to do it because it'll scare you to death. But if it's something that you have done in the past or you have an interest in, go to the site, look at some of those other ideas, and consider doing events. I forget what the third one is. I apologize, Dave. I don't have it back up in front of me, but if you can bring it up. Feels like there was one more at the bottom. Yeah, just web leads. We look at web leads as though they're Martians. Web leads are just people, right? They've connected at some point somewhere, and you've probably got access to them either through your company or through a realtor with Zillow or whatever it might be. They're just people, right? They're just people. And what we know through Chris Smith and the conversion code is if I just commit to a process where I stay in touch with them over time, I cannot tell you how many clients I've had. You guys tell me if this sounds familiar. Like, chime in on chat. Realtor asked me to partner with them on Zillow. I reluctantly did. I spent $300, $700 a month. Nothing really came of it. They weren't very good leads. Then we find out 6 months later, that person that was in my database actually bought a house and they financed through somebody else. Am I right or wrong, people? Tell me that you've had this experience. They just take longer because they're sticking their toe in early. Okay, John is asking the question, what was the website Bill mentioned earlier? Yeah, something for referrals. So it's Road to Referrals, ROADTO referrals.com. And Dave's going to bring it up and show it to you there, I think. Or it's not necessary. You don't have to, but road2referrals.com is the name of it. Thanks, buddy. Dude, I'm making you dance today.
I love it. So type it in, guys. Super simple, super easy. And remember, this is recorded. If you need to go back and listen to it, you can listen to it. And then also remember, you could go into our Facebook group and just post a question, something you forgot, something you need help with, post a question. And not only will you get a response from me or Bill if it's on point to one of us, but you get the whole community after it. So just remember to engage online.
Yeah, and Dave, I'm going to call you out again on that if I coach you, you know that I have said I want you to go daily to the Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind group. And I'm not kidding, because this hasn't existed before. And Dave, I just said this to somebody the other day, and you know I said this about you. You have somehow managed to remain Switzerland and neutral in an industry that doesn't do that very well, right? And so you've created this cool group with what, nearly 4,000 members? Are you at 4,000 now?
Yeah, I think we're at 4,380. See,
that's
I'm pulling
awesome.
up. Yeah,
that's awesome.
And adding at least 500 a month. We're getting after it.
So here, I hope you don't mind me suggesting this, but this is what I tell people. If you have a question, put it out here. You've seen me do it. I generally do it with a graphic. I try and draw in attention. But if you have a question about database, a lead source, hey, have you guys had experience with this? This community is unlike anything else that I've seen. I don't know where else you would find this, where you would find a group of like-minded people. Some of them just sort of, skulk in the background and they don't interact a lot. I get that. That's social media. But you'll have a ton of people that, yeah, there you go. There's all my posts and questions, right? I think this group, which, by the way, have I mentioned, is free, is largely one of the best resources in our industry right now. This is the magic of social media. So Dave, thanks for putting this together and the time that you put into managing it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, grateful. And Bill, thank you for being so active in our community and giving back so much value. So grateful back at you, brother.
Yeah, man.
So let's keep it rolling. By the way, I want to give you one, I don't know if it's critical feedback or a challenge. I really see seminars in web leads is more consumer direct. Like, there's database, and I get what you're looking for, but I feel like seminar and web leads are more like consumer direct strategies. I don't know. Why do you see them as database versus consumer
Only
direct?
Because I see them as leads that have been generated that then go into my database and I follow up with them. But I mean, to your point, maybe they should be in both columns, because you're absolutely right. They are consumer direct. And, Ryan Hills of resource.tv calls it community direct. Have you heard that term?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I love that idea, right? That it's community direct. Yeah, I'm gonna go to my community. And you, Dave, you called it out at the beginning of the call. The more that we can begin to think about our local communities and how to become relevant in our community, I think that's the challenge. Bill Hillestead, I remember him talking about this probably 8 to 10 years ago, where he had people going out interviewing the local new restaurant that opened and the dry cleaners, and like, what does this have to do with mortgage-backed securities? Absolutely nothing. But it's you creating a connection with your community. I love that, man. So yeah, Dave, we can sharpen me offline on that, but I think you're right that those could certainly be in both categories, and maybe they would be better served in consumer direct.
Yeah, just wanted to ask you, for education for everybody, so you can kind of hear your vision on where they're at and why.
All I'm saying is that's a group of people that you got in the seminar, those 15 people that were in that seminar, they need to be in your database and you need to follow up with them. And with the web leads, make sure they're in your database and you're following up. But I think you're right. It's kind of a chicken or an egg issue, right? Where did they come from? They came from the consumer direct column. So let's talk about that. For no apparent reason, I've got home buyer seminars at the top. We could argue that a home seller seminar is the better thing, right? Maybe it's just seminars. HR directors, you guys, Kim Negron on the East Coast told me a story years ago about this small company that was selling software to car dealerships that her son was working for. And we had a conversation about this, like, well, all those millennials that are working there that she's telling me about, like, what are they doing for real estate? Why don't you go talk to the HR director, see if you can get in there? And she did. And she went in there and she started doing talks for this group of, I don't know, 50 or 100 people that work there, young people. And suddenly she started building business. She started building community. Like, don't forget HR directors, you guys. There's a white paper out there somewhere, Dave, that I could find later. You don't have to go look for it now, but HUD did. Do you remember this? That HUD put out?
I know. It's new to me. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
It's on the value of an employee who is a homeowner versus, and that not just value, but the stability of a homeowner that is an employee versus a renter. If you just found that, put out by HUD years ago, hopefully they've updated it, or there's another version of that you can find, or maybe somebody knows where it is here in the chat. Let's just see if anybody's chimed in on that. Nope. That you lead in a conversation with an HR director with that, and like my 93-year-old Sicilian mother-in-law used to say before she passed, the calf is sold, meaning the deal is done. Because if the HR director sees that, wow, great point, never thought about that, we should actually encourage home ownership in our company because it creates more stability and less turnover, this becomes a no-brainer, right?
Hey, real quick on this one, Bill, if there is anyone on this call that's killing it with this strategy, please PM me. I am looking for some success stories of where loan officers have killed it, supporting companies. I am seeing this trend in our community, looking for success stories. So please, private message me, or if it's a cool story, you want to share it in our Facebook group. I just think it's a big idea. It's a big strategy. And I would love to create some best practices and community around this one, guys.
Yeah, likewise. I would love to see that as well. Zillow, Trulia, et cetera. Obviously, look, there's a play there, you guys. But if you ask me what the evolution was that I'm seeing right now, it's away from that game, and it's more toward a lender-friendly version of this. So one example is Commissions Inc. Dave, are you familiar with Commissions Inc. that realtors use?
Yeah, absolutely.
They call it Sync, right? CINC, Commissions Inc. And Xander Blunt with Prime Lending in Austin just told me he did a demo with them the other day for the realtor thing. And so they've just taken their machine and they've shifted the funnel over on top of the lender's desk instead of on top of the realtor's desk, right? And he said for about $3,000 a month as a minimum point of entry, I can generate viable, warm leads that Commissions Inc. knows how to do. They've been doing it for top producing realtor teams for years. So, we're seeing that. Joe New with Cherry Creek Mortgage in Dallas has created a brand new lead generation system using Facebook leads that is killing it. And I've got a number of our MasterCoach members that are using it. And feel free to just hit me on that, and I can refer you to Joe, Bill at buildingchampions.com. But look, if that's happening one place, it's happening 50 places right now around the country where people who understand how to create leads, particularly on Facebook, because you slice and dice that data so much, it's out there, you guys, and it doesn't need to cost you what you've been paying. It's been too expensive for a lead that wasn't really yours, right? And so this is just me on a platform saying, if you're going to do this, own it. Make it your investment. These should be leads you're getting in the way in front of, and then you refer them out to realtors. Personally, I prefer that game. Dave, I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
No, I totally align. Makes tons of sense. And by the way, if you are using Commissions Inc. or you have a top strategy that you're doing, we're looking for, what are the best doing when it comes to this strategy? One person asked, is Zillow and Trulia trending down or up? And I hear both. I hear loan officers that are leaving it because they are now in the real estate business. And I hear loan officers that say, the numbers make sense and I'm going to stay after it. So that's the extent of my answer. Bill, let's crush Yelp and Google.
Yep.
And we have a few minutes.
Let's bring it home.
Coaching debrief.
Let's bring it home. So Yelp, most of you have probably heard me talk about what I call 5 stars matter. And to that point, I wouldn't be an author if I didn't call it out and say, if you've read White Collar Warrior, I really crave your reviews. I've got 57 5-star reviews right now on Amazon, and my goal is 100 by the end of the year. So if you've read it or listened to it, please go to Amazon, and I just need a couple sentences, right? And I want you to be of course, truthful in your review. I'm very fortunate the way they've turned out so far, but I would love to have your reviews. And so in that same way, I want you to start thinking about, yeah, see, what did I say? 57 5-star reviews, right?
Hey, real quick, Bill, I want to make sure, guys, Bill Hart has given so much value to this community for so many years, and he's asking for reviews. They help him create credibility around his book. Again, be authentic. We're not asking for everybody to give a review that it's not in your heart. But if you get the book, you read the book, and you have something to say, best way we can reward Bill for all the value he's brought. And again, I'm assuming that I'm talking to someone who got something from Bill. Like, he gave you an idea. He reminded you about something. He's given you value. Bill's given you value. Take the time, make it to do, and give him a review. This is a way we can give value as a community. So, I mean, by the way, there's enough people watching this call, and between the call and the recording, we could kill this goal within a week. So just know, I know the date. I know when we did this. If enough of the people that were on this call and that watched the recording just give Bill a review within a week, he'll be reporting back next week that I crossed my 100 line because of the Mortgage Coach community, guys. So let's get after it.
I appreciate that, Dave, and I appreciate that to all of you. Thank you very much in advance. So let's now reflect on you. Here's what I know. I have conversations with clients, and I ask them, tell me about your reviews, your online reviews. I got a couple on Google. I've got a couple on Zillow. I think I've got a couple on Yelp, but they're 6 months old. You tell me, you guys, what does it say to you when you go and read, when you go to a site and you look for the reviews and they're 6 months old and there's only a couple of them, what it says to us is that's not relevant. It's not organic. It's not real time. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just consider when somebody is referred to you, where do you think they go to find out about you? They're going to pick up their phone and they're going to look you up, and pretty quickly, one way or another, they're going to be looking at reviews. And an absence of reviews demonstrates that you're a dinosaur. Let's be honest. It's not good. You got to have reviews in 2018, looking at 2019. And number two, crush the reviews. Like, crush the reviews. Make this a part of your closing system so that, and I've had people push back with me on this and say, dude, I started at the beginning. Good. But create a system so that you begin talking to your borrowers about how important the reviews are and these various places that we get them. Dave, we're coming in at the top of the hour, but that's really it for me. Google AdWords, of course, is another play, but it's more just, I would love to hear from you guys. If there are categories that I'm missing in these 3 pillars, please tell me what they are. But there you go, Dave. That's it in a nutshell. And Dave, what did you just do? You just put up another link.
Guys, I'm going to give Bill the last minute and a half, but I do want to create some awareness around an article called the Lead Generation Playbook for Mortgage Advisors. And, I went through, what are the tenets of success for you to crush it with Consumer Direct. And then I listed out several, call it, lead gen strategies. And you notice number 8 is 5-star reviews. And I want to call this out, guys, for 2 reasons. This strategy is so valuable because not only will you generate business from it, you will improve your conversion. And so there's not a lot of things you can do that improve conversion and improve lead gen. And this is one of those things. So I just want to call it out. I mean, I know I'm giving a lot of most important things. Your past customer database, most important. Delivering a total cost analysis so that you're delivering advice, most important. Online 5-star reviews. I mean, these are things that you need to crush, you need to execute. And with that said, Bill, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to give you the last minute or 2 to close it out.
Thanks,
coach everybody up.
So here's what I would say to that, and I think you just teed it up beautifully. Not one of these things is the solution. It's all of these things and more. Again, this is not definitive. This is just, I want to challenge you to say this. So this is my lean in, right? I want to challenge you to be self-reflective. Email us, info@buildingchampions.com. Get your own copy. Do it. Send it to me if you want me to review it with you. Bill@buildingchampions.com. I'll do it. I can't do it live, but I can look at it and get back to you. But you know what? challenge yourself. Where else can I be generating leads? How can I create a viable business for the long term? Creating a true book of business. And the last 3 words that I have for you are own your business.
Love it. Everybody, if you got value from today's call, give Bill and I a like. If you're watching this in either Facebook or YouTube, give it a like. Share it with your mortgage friends. And please, if you haven't bought Bill's book, buy his book because it's good for you. And if you've bought his book, you've read his book, or you've listened to the audiobook and you haven't given a review, give a review. All right, guys.
Appreciate it.
Great call.
Had a blast, Dave.
Bill Hart, so grateful for you, brother.
Always a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Take it easy.
You too.